Chiang Kai-Shek is regarded as one of the most prominent and well-known figures in China's most recent history. He was a key factor in initializing the rise of the Kuomintang political party. He ultimately succeeded in preventing total loss against Japan in the war, and he even battled Mao's communists with control over the country. However, in this video I'm going to talk about a couple of fatal flaws that led to the demise of Chiang along with his retreat towards Taiwan. I'll start off with his formal military training. Chiang studied at military academies both in northern China and Japan. He even served in the Japanese military for a couple of years. Now, this is important because this was during Japan's Meiji Restoration. Basically, in response to Commodore Perry opening Japan to the outside world, there was a succession of rapid military, economic, and technological advancements. In other words, Chiang had first-hand experience with the potential strength and threat of the Japanese military. Keep this in mind. When he returned back to China, he helped form the Kuomintang Party. Under Sun Yat-sen, the original founder, the party welcomed all, including communists, in order to reach the goal of reuniting China. However, this flipped 180 degrees when Chiang became leader. He was worried about a potential power struggle, so he quickly turned his back on the commies by regarding them as public enemy number one. Mind you, this was with the threat looming of the Second Japanese War that may come into fruition. Instead of combining China's forces into one and using their combined strength to defend against the Japs, he decided to put off the defense against Japan and target the commies. Let's just say this decision didn't go well with his generals. They in fact kidnapped him and held him at gunpoint for weeks until he changed his mind, which he rightfully does. Unsurprisingly, the war breaks out and Japan steamrolls into China. Within a month, they captured Beijing and Tianjin, as well as several port cities. A couple of months later, they would go on to capture Shanghai and the capital of Nanjing as well. In response, in order to halt the Japanese military, Chiang decides to flood the Yellow River. Now, what this does is that it destroys thousands of Chinese villages along the way, as well as effectively killing 12 million Chinese. This may have halted the Japanese in their conquests, but effectively they were out of range and they just simply went another route. Despite Japan's early success, things stagnated and they were ultimately forced to surrender with the help of foreign nations such as the Soviets and the US's nuclear atomic weaponry used on Hiroshima and Nagasaki. So, after the war, Chiang finally got what he wished for. A brawl with the commies over control over China, in which he would lose. A couple of reasons for this defeat was the People's Liberation Army's popular support with the peasant population, which was a vast majority of China. There was common corruption within Chiang's forces, like a disappropriate management of funds, leading to runaway inflation. This would cause certain members in his military to be loaded with cash while others being dirt poor. He also had an inability to stop as well as understand peasant infantry, which were influenced by an idealistic leader at the time. Lastly, he was an over-reliance on foreign influence that did not help out him and eventually did not pan out. So, I think it's pretty safe to say that Chiang made some pretty terrible decisions during his rule and leader of the Kuomintang political party, effectively coming across as perhaps an incompetent military commander. I would go more into into Chiang's glorious endeavors, but this is only a 4-minute video, so I'm just gonna have to stop it off here. And there is still great stuff with his 25 years of rule over Taiwan. But thank you all for watching, and I hope you learned something new.